Chapter 1. The Cliff and the Fall. The town of Dry Creek was more dust than dreams, a crumbling piece of land between the red rock cliffs and the howling desert wind. It was a town run by men with guns and ruled by one man alone, Mayor Silas Trumbull. With his iron grip on the law, the railroads, and the saloons, he fancied himself a king, and no one dared defy him. Except for one girl. Eleanor Ellie James had just turned 18 when Silas declared she would be his wife. Her father had died under mysterious circumstances the week prior, and her mother had disappeared years ago. Alone, but proud, Ellie stood in the town square in her threadbare blue dress and said, "No." The silence that followed was heavier than a coffin. "You'll regret that," Silas had growled. And she did. 2 days later, just before dawn, she was tied and dragged up Devil's Spine, the cliff overlooking Dry Creek. Silas's men stood in a semicircle, blank-eyed and cold. "She had her chance," one of them muttered. Then they shoved her off. She remembered the scream tearing from her throat, the rush of air, the terrible silence just before the impact. But the fall didn't kill her. The tree broke it. She crashed into a branch, then another, and landed in the dry brush at the base, broken but alive. She couldn't move, couldn't cry, just bled into the dirt and waited for the vultures. That's when he found her. Chapter 2. The Apache and the Girl. The man came like a shadow out of the rocks, tall, quiet, and fierce-eyed. Apache by blood, warrior by life. He had been watching the town from afar, like he always did, a lone figure never welcome among the white settlers. But when he saw the girl fall, and didn't see her die, something inside him shifted. His name was Dakota, meaning friend to everyone in his people's tongue, but the world had not returned that favor. He lifted Ellie's broken body with careful hands, wrapping her in a buffalo hide, and carried her deep into the canyons where no white man dared go. For 3 weeks she drifted in and out of fever. She didn't speak, didn't move, but she breathed, and Dakota cared for her. He ground herbs to ease her pain, sewed her cuts with horsehair, fed her rabbit broth from his hands. His eyes never wavered from her face, even when he thought she might die. Then one day, she opened her eyes and said, "Why?" He didn't answer with words, only motioned to the sky and the earth, as if to say, "Because life is still in you." Chapter 3. Scars and Seeds. Ellie's recovery was slow. Her left leg had a limp now, and her ribs would always ache in the cold. But her fire? That never faded. In Dakota's canyon, she learned to live, to track a rabbit, to stitch leather, to listen to the land instead of fearing it. Dakota didn't speak often, but when he did, it mattered. "You are like the yucca," he said one evening as she balanced on her cane, scarred by the wind but rooted deep. Ellie smiled through the pain. "And you? What are you?" He didn't answer, but she knew. They were two lost souls, both wounded by men with power, both cast out from the world. But in each other, they found something unexpected, a reason to stay alive. Chapter 4. Whispers of Vengeance. One autumn night, Ellie and Dakota watched firelight flicker on the canyon walls. She asked what had been burning in her chest for weeks. "Do you know what they did to me?" she whispered. "I saw," he said. She took a breath. "Then I need to go back." Dakota didn't blink. "You would die." "Maybe," she said, her jaws set like flint. "But I won't run forever, and I won't let other girls go through what I did." Silas had taken too much from too many. Ellie didn't just want justice. She wanted to bury her past in the same earth that fed the blood of tyrants. Dakota stood, the firelight turning his face to stone. Then we go together. Chapter 5, Return to Dry Creek. It was winter when they returned. Ellie wore a wide-brimmed hat, her hair braided with leather. A rifle rested on her shoulder, though she barely had the strength to use it. Beside her, Dakota walked like a storm wrapped in skin, silent, unreadable, unstoppable. They entered Dry Creek at sundown. People stared. They whispered. The girl was supposed to be dead. Mayor Silas heard within minutes. He laughed, then raged, then called his men. By moonrise, the saloon was ringed with rifles. Silas stepped out onto the balcony. "I see the cliff didn't finish the job." Ellie raised her voice, clear and hard as glass. "You tried to kill me because I said no. But I'm not the girl you shoved off that cliff. I'm the woman who came back." Silas sneered. "You think anyone here will stand with you?" One voice rose in the crowd, then another, and another. A barkeep, a blacksmith, even Silas's own deputy who lowered his rifle and turned away. Dry Creek had been bleeding under Silas's thumb for too long. Tonight, it bled no more. Chapter 6, The Last Shot. Silas roared and drew his pistol. Ellie didn't flinch, but she didn't have to. Dakota stepped forward, his own weapon already drawn, a simple long rifle, Apache made. He fired once. Silas dropped to his knees, then to the dirt, dead before his body hit the ground. The silence that followed was deep and wide. Dakota lowered his gun. Ellie didn't cry. She just stood taller. The people of Dry Creek gathered around her. No longer broken, no longer silent. She was no man's victim. She was the spark that lit a town on fire and burned away the rot. Chapter 7, Spring Rain. Months passed. He never left Dry Creek again. But she didn't just live there. She rebuilt it. She opened a school in the old saloon where girls learned to read and boys learned respect. The gallows where Silas had once ruled was torn down, replaced with a garden. She limped, yes, but with pride. Her scars were proof of survival, not shame. And Dakota? He stayed too. He built a home on the edge of town, beneath the cliffs that had once almost claimed her. He was never quite part of the town, but he was no longer feared. Children ran to greet him. Men nodded when he passed. And every night, Ellie walked to that cabin. They didn't speak of love in the ways others did, no rings, no church vows. But in every glance, in every shared silence, it was there. One evening, as the rain fell soft and warm, Ellie sat beside him and said, "You saved me." Dakota shook his head. "You saved yourself." She leaned on his shoulder and smiled. "Maybe we did, both." Epilogue, The Girl Who Wouldn't Die. Years later, they would tell the tale of the girl who was thrown from a cliff and came back stronger than ever. They would say, an Apache warrior found her, but it was her fire that lit the way home. And they would say love didn't save her, but it gave her something to live for. And that made all the difference.